Hey everybody, welcome back to Midas Letter Live. This is our first show in over a year, and I am so glad to be back here. Ed, are you glad to be back here?
I'm glad to be back here. What's the occasion for the show?
Well, it's Special Head Survival Party. He made it through the pandemic, damn it.
Special Head.
Special Head.
You could take that a few ways, couldn't you?
Well, take it a few ways, exactly. You sure could.
Anyway, enough of that.
Ed, it's been a year, and this pandemic has really knocked the stuffing out of economies worldwide. It has sapped
the permutations, combinations, like, you know, interest rates very topical right now. They just shot up.
I don't want to go there yet. I was going to say,
I know.
Just you know, the kids these days. Could you imagine being a kid growing up? You can't go see your friends. You can't go out and shop for intimate contact in the prime of your existence. You're being told, no, you can't go to the bar. No, you can't socialize. No, you can't. Could you imagine? Anyways, I'm just saying for the kids out there that I feel your pain. I'm so glad I'm this old and miserable.
Yeah.
Would you say you're old and miserable, Ed?
Kind of, yeah. I'm getting there. There's no question. You don't care anymore. You don't care when you get older. You don't care that you hurt someone's feelings. And, you know, who cares?
True. Suck it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't mind picking your nose in public, you know?
No. So, what are we going to talk about today?
Well, we got to talk about the things that are topical.
So you're talking interest rates?
Interest rates.
Tropical or topical?
Well, what about certain commodities? Any commodities made any noise lately?
Well, commodities? Are you kidding? I've got commodities coming out the yin-yang.
Yeah.
I mean, the commodity prices, in fact, we're going to look at a couple of commodities charts in a short while. But we're going to talk a bit about the weed space.
Weed?
Because weed is something that you just can't live without. It's one of the key food groups.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk a bit about...
What are the key food groups?
Well, yeah.
Okay.
You've got your dairy, your meat, your eggs.
And your weed.
And your weed. Anyways, we've also got... what else do we have to talk about today? Oh, copper.
Copper.
Dr. Copper's in the house.
And we should mention that soybeans are rarely in the teens. I think the price of soybeans. And they're 14. I think they're over $14 a bushel.
Get out!
Soybeans.
Soybeans at $14? I'll take a dozen. Anyways, so also I think we should touch upon the main focus of our show today is going to be what happened to those cannabis stocks. And this is where your hosts, Ed and James, actually fess up to the train wreck cannabis companies that we featured on our show in the last couple of years. And we're going to call the CEOs and find out WTF happened.
What the?
Yeah. I think that's a good name for a new segment. What do you think, Ed?
Yeah, absolutely. And now we're getting a lot of people talking about marijuana going mainstream in the U.S. because of the Dems are in.
We do. Actually, so in cannabis land, we're going to have Trevor Fencott from Flower and Flower is going to be on the show in a short while. We're going to have Steve Dunn, the CEO of Crown Mining.
Steve?
The good Dr. Copper himself is going to be here to tell us
I met him on your show, about 3.5 years ago.
I know you did. I introduced you to him.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny, we've introduced each other to a lot of things over the years. Some of them we prefer to forget, but that's not really the purview of this show.
Okay.
Let's tell me about what you see happening in the interest rates. Like, let's pull it.
Let's take a look here. Let's take a look.
Geez, I can't see that far. What did he do? Oh, there it is. There's the U.S. 10-year.
Is that the 10-year?
Yeah,
no, I don't think so. Is it?
Yeah, that's the U.S. government bond 10-year yield.
Okay. What's the time frame here? Because
this is trading. This is a 1 second look.
Yeah, so we don't want that. Put up a 1 year.
A 1 year. Well, how about I go by what? I'll go by 1 day intervals. The 1 day candles. And then I'll take a 1 year look.
Yeah, there you go. That's good enough.
There's year to date. That's starting.
That's year to date. I want a full year. I want the last candle there. Yeah. So we can sort of. Look, we're back to where interest rates were about a year ago. So I think a year ago, before this pandemic really, sort of hit its, people didn't know what was going on. The rates plunged, stock market, everything. I think rates were about $1.50, $1.60 for the 10-year, and yesterday they hit 153 after plunging to 0.4.
Yeah.
And I think even 5 months ago.
My question for you is, if quantitative easing is a way to keep interest rates low, then how come it's backfiring right now?
Okay, because they can only screw around with the short-term rate. That rate is mainly determined by buyers and sellers.
Buyers and sellers, like a free and fair marketplace.
That's why the short-term rate is staying so low.
Really?
Because it's being artificially kept there by the Fed. And this thing is saying, hey, wait a minute here. All this money you've printed is starting to impact the price of food,
copper,
drugs,
lumber,
alcohol, all the vices.
All the vices. I never thought of lumber as a vice.
Lumber.
Yeah, I just want to keep.
Well, you know what?
That's
when they use a little piece of lumber for a spanking board.
Well, this is a G-rated show.
Oh, okay. You wanted to know. Okay.
We don't want to hear about your fluffing skills.
Okay.
So here is the 1 year look at random length lumber futures.
Wow.
So I'm building my farm right now.
I see you got a lot of lumber in there. It's gone up in value, hasn't it?
Well, you know what? I've started stockpiling lumber because I figure you got a skid of that? I'm going to buy it because I don't know what I'm going to use it for, but I know it's going to be twice as expensive in 6 months.
It's gone through the roof, hasn't it?
Well, there's the chart right there.
Yeah.
Like that speaks volumes.
So I don't even know what the number is, but what is the number right as we speak?
It's not really the number that's relative. It's 1062.
And what was it, say, 6 months ago?
Well, so 6 months ago, let's see, this is March, that would be September. 6 months ago, it was 995.
Okay, but there's been some valleys and peaks in between.
Well, yeah. So at the end of September, the price of lumber was falling, and then this was mid-pandemic.
Right.
So the price of lumber was falling. Quantitative easing kicked in back here. The price took off when quantitative easing started to filter down into housing starts. Lost my mouse. Didn't need it anyways. Don't really like mice. I'm more of a rat person.
You like rats?
I like dogs, actually. And cats.
Gary Yeoman.
Oh, geez. Can't take that call right now.
Are you going to get that, James?
I don't think so. He can wait.
Yeah, that's the way to do it.
We've got bigger fish to fry around here, Edward. Yeah, so anyways, the price of lumber is...
we're talking here about different things, and we haven't been together for officially for over a year, but what other phenomenon has taken Wall Street by surprise here that,
Well, you're alluding to the GameStop phenomenon, or are you talking about cryptocurrencies?
Bitcoin. Bitcoin hit $57,000.
Yes.
Can you imagine?
Scott Minerd, the chief investment officer of Guggenheim Funds, was on Bloomberg, a month ago, calling Bitcoin for $400,000.
Yeah.
And you got Elon Musk, of course, who likes to shoot his mouth off to see the effect. And he says, we're going to buy a $1.5 billion in Bitcoin. And then he says 2 weeks later, the price seems high. And he lost $14 billion in a day. But so there's, to me, again, and I know I'm a bit of a lone voice in this respect, but that is the proof of the fraudulent essence of cryptocurrencies, is that they are not a currency at all. They are merely a speculative asset that is fabricated from computers and has no physical, tangible existence.
Do you ever look at the energy requirements that you need now to make a Bitcoin?
We could talk for hours about the misallocation of resources that
they use
Bitcoin
coal. They use a lot of coal for this.
Well, that's why they moved to Iceland.
And the stupid thing is, you got all these guys saying green, 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 green. Meanwhile, they're burning coal.
Yeah,
that's all bullshit. Bullshit.
I mean, we could spend a whole show talking about the representations of the positives of coronavirus, of cryptocurrency.
Coronavirus, yeah.
And that would be a long list. But basically, it's supposed to be non-debasable. But yet there's been 4 new iterations of Bitcoin alone through this forking process whereby they change the parameters of the definition of a Bitcoin.
In other words, greed is
rampant. There are over 2,000 cryptocurrencies quoted on coincap.io. So there's a proliferation debasement issue right
everybody
there.
might as well make their own currency and become a billionaire.
Well, that's just it. If
There you
all
go.
I need to do is learn computer science to program my own money, here, Ed, I'm going to send you $1,000. Oh, you owe me $1,000. Now I want $1 million.
Done.
Thank you. Yeah, there you go.
Everybody that I listen to, and I don't listen to everybody, obviously, but some of the
you don't listen to anybody.
Well, some of the smarter guys have said that the only reason you buy Bitcoin, this is what they say. They say because you want to sell it to someone else. You're not buying it because it's going to do anything, because there's nothing they can do.
Yeah. It's not like you're going to stick it down your pants and get a joyous reaction.
It's more like look, if everybody decides to escape, to leave the Bitcoin party, the price of Bitcoin will
collapse. Which has already happened twice since Bitcoin's evolution or birth.
But it's still 48. I don't know what it is today. I haven't looked.
Don't forget, in 2012, this thing went from $5,000 down to $1,200. Took out a whole bunch of guys.
Yeah.
One of our mutual friends included.
John
who had invested in crazy mining infrastructure.
I know.
Only to have it all collapse around his ears when the price crashed.
But if he could have waited.
Well, if he could have held on. If he had deeper pockets.
It's always about deeper pockets.
Deeper pockets.
Withstand.
The market can stay irrational longer than you can stay solvent. You know who I learned that from? You!
You know who I learned that from?
Who?
I learned that from a banker who, when I went to pull out some money and there was no money left, he said, the markets can remember.
Oh, you sure he wasn't a broker who said, I'm going to take my experience and your money and turn it into your experience and my money? That also is one of your bon mots from the old days.
Yeah. Well.
So you smoking any good weed lately?
I like the pre-roll. It's no muss, no fuss. Just buy them, smoke them.
Which any particular brand?
I'm a sucker for getting a buzz. I like the old sativa.
Oh, really? You're a sativa guy?
I think so. I don't even know what kind of guy I am, but that's what I order.
So what do you?
I'm a sativa guy. You sure you don't want to be a CBD guy? No, I don't think so. I don't know what that is yet. We'll get there sooner or later. Sativa seems to be the place for me.
There's a whole generation of youngsters coming up now saying there's no difference between sativa and indica anymore. And I think to myself, well, that's probably true because all you losers have interbred it without any regard for its pedigree to the point where we can't keep a pure strain around. You know Dean and Aaron, DNA Genetics? So those are the only guys I know who probably have pure strains, the original land races of all the sativas, indicas, and even ruderalis in their inventory. They've run more cannabis cups than anybody. They're now a publicly traded company. Who would have ever thought a marijuana seed company would be a publicly traded company? Like, it's insane.
I don't know. I looked at, what did I look at? Yeah. So that this, we mentioned a stock here recently that had a big run.
Which stock?
Voxter.
Oh, Voxter.
Do you know what the low for that was this year?
The low?
The low.
12 cents.
2 cents.
2 cents. And now it's trading at $1 and change.
Yeah. And I guess that's, you can pretty well hit any stock you want. And they were at nickels and dimes, and now they're dollars.
If you want to know what Ed's talking about, go find the interview with Gary Yeoman, who's the CEO of Voxter Analytics, and this is one of the hottest stocks in Canada right now. Back to our program.
Whoa. Where did you go?
I was in the camera.
Yeah, you were in the camera.
Yeah, I was.
Do you actually go right in there?
I had to go to the can.
The camera. The camera.
Anyways, where were we? This is the problem with smoking weed, Have you noticed you're a little bit forgetful?
What? Huh?
Who?
What are you talking about?
I can't remember.
Copper, I think in the last 15
minutes? Years.
Copper in the last 10 years has only been around these prices maybe 8 or 9 months of the last, say, 120 months. In other words...
120 months.
Well, no.
Why wouldn't you just say 10 years?
No, more than...
I mean, that's 120 months. It feels like I got to do some math. When really what you're saying is 10 years.
We're very close to all-time highs in copper.
What is the all-time record high for copper?
I believe it was $4.67 a pound.
On what date? In what year?
It was 2011.
Ding!
And it was either January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September.
Okay, well, you're right. I can't argue
See?
with you there. You
Right
are
again.
good.
I know.
Jesus.
Jesus.
All right, let's take a look at a gold chart now, because gold is a commodity, and so if commodities are on our tear, shouldn't gold be demonstrating
except you know,
that's not what we want to look at.
Gold doesn't pay interest, does it?
Jesus, I'm driving all over the place like a drunk here. I can't see the symbols in the... Oh, there's lumber again. Oh, copper futures one more time. Domestic steel. Well, that's not really an active traded...
Yeah, I guess iron ore has really gone nuts, hasn't it?
Steel. So steel, I tried to buy a greenhouse. And, didn't I bring up a gold chart here? I thought I did. I'm going to pull it up right now. I'm sorry.
Well, there's one behind you, isn't there?
Oh, no, I don't. Well, there is actually.
Hey.
Oh, no, I can't mess with that one with this setup. But 1 second here. Let's see. Let's just go gold. And gold chart. Look at that. Boom. Bob's your uncle.
Oh, look at this. Okay. 1729.
1729. So down from... down from its all-time high. Now, this is gold's all-time high.
Yeah.
Price is quoted in U.S. dollars.
Was that July?
That was August last year.
August.
So, and this was the end result. This was the outcome, ultimately, of the $3 trillion quantitative easing maneuver by the Fed. So $3 trillion fractionally banked out to a minimum of $30 trillion, all is liquidity pressure to the upside on asset prices across the board. Would you agree? I mean, where's all that money going to go? People aren't just going to take it off the table and put it in their pockets or under their mattress. They don't do that anymore. They play derivatives. They play the stock market.
I know.
They buy cryptocurrencies, for God's sakes.
I know.
Anyways, so my point here is...
What's your point?
My point here is, if Joe Biden is about to print another $1.9 trillion, which nominally is at least another $19 trillion worth of upward pressure in the stock market, but more importantly is that much more dilution on the entire asset base of the United States, and why is gold falling in price?
Well, I think things got pretty ugly in 2009. Did they not? 2008, 2009 with the housing bubble and all that shit.
Yeah, I talked about memory and smoking weed, right?
Back then, gold initially dropped before it took off. And it reached its high, okay? And the reason is because, you know, they're jerking around with interest rates here. You know, they say, well, why would you own gold? It doesn't pay anything. And now you can get treasuries that are paying you 1.5%. Whoa. 1.5%? Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's a no good. That's a no good.
That's the only thing I can say to you right now. And obviously...
So again, why is gold going down then if we're only getting 1.5%?
Cryptos are taking up a lot of the pent-up demand for
See, now that's an interesting
competition.
Point. Yeah, some of my colleagues, and I won't say where, are telling me that no, Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies are not the beneficiaries of the youthful interest that would normally be directed towards gold as a safe haven. Right. It's going to crypto because that's their generation's goal.
Right.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I don't care if you call an utter delusion, a fabricated piece of code, an asset.
There aren't even really Are there anything like there's still Bitcoin, is there?
No, you know what? Some guys actually started making and selling plastic Bitcoins because people wanted to buy something so they could hold something to talk about when they're talking about Bitcoin. Yeah. But there's no value to those ones. Yeah, but the real Bitcoin is invisible.
We should say that there is a value, and we've got them all, and you have to buy them from us.
The Midas Letter coin.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh. I think that would be fraud, though. And we've managed to go this far without spending any time in the pokey.
In the Crowbar Hotel.
Yeah, exactly. In the Hotel California.
Jesus.
Yeah. Anyways.
Well, okay. So and we, you know, again, and the interesting thing, if you look, January started off pretty strong in the equity markets, but by the end of January, basically all the gains have disappeared. Same thing in February. Markets having a great February, but then by the end of the month,
Hey, you know what isn't going down?
hey,
Cannabis crops. Trevor Fencott is going to join us right now, and he is in, I think he's in Toronto. Is he in Toronto? Anyways,
I
here's
don't-
Trevor Fencott. He's the CEO of Fire and Flower. Hey there, Wealth Press and Midas Letter viewers, traders, investors. Today, I have a special guest. Mr. Trevor Fencott joins us. He's the CEO of Fire and Flower Holdings Corp, trading on the OTC under the symbol FFLWF and in Toronto under the symbol FAF. Trevor, it's been a while. Welcome back.
Thank you so much for having me back. It's good to be back.
Yeah, you know, I was intrigued when I heard that I was going to be talking to you, and I started to, see what I've been missing out on. And here I see this Alimentation Couche-Tard has bought 15% of your company. Like, wow, that's a $42 billion company. That's like Constellation Brands doing their first 10% of Canopy Growth. Tell me how that all came about and what's going on.
Well, yeah, there's a lot that's happened. So, as you know, we are a tech-forward cannabis retailer, and as we started to roll out our plan, Couche-Tard, the owner of Circle K, I think most of your viewers probably know Circle K, perhaps a little more than Alimentation Couche-Tard, but they were looking to explore opportunities in the cannabis space, obviously as a convenience-based retailer, and had a lot of conversations with a lot of folks, and really, I think, engage with our tech platform. The fact that we have this high-fire digital tech platform that allows us to do kind of best-in-class retailing, data and analytics, drive higher value of our customers and higher sort of store performances, and use that in a kind of a roll-up strategy, because ultimately there is going to be consolidation. We're already seeing it, but I think that their view was, look, you know what, this is kind of get the tools here because we know it's going to be a competitive industry. And we're very glad that they chose us. And as you say, they now, I think it's 13%, but there's a path to 50.1%. So there's a series of warrants there that continues to provide working capital to the company and growth capital. I think they go this December up to sort of 33%, and then after that it's 50.1% time. So yeah, we view it very similar to the Constellation Brands deal, and for us it is transformative because. If you look at what we've been able to do together, not only just the tech platform, but we actually have co-located Fire and Flower stores with Circle K stores in Alberta. So we kind of view Canada as a bit of the test market, prove the model, make sure it works, get all the kinks out, make low-cost Canadian dollar mistakes, not US dollar mistakes. So really get the operating model down. But if you look at what we're doing with them, so there's a Circle K store, and co-located with it is a Fire and Flower location that's smaller. It's a 600 square foot store, very, very capital efficient, very capital light, very, very revenue efficient. And you can start to see the beginnings of a hub spoke delivery all wrapped up in a tech platform that really drives growth. And we really found that people hadn't sort of understood that part of our story. And so we put a new deck out that kind of maps out our relationship with Circle K and Couche-Tard a lot more clearly. And it shows, well, hey, my goodness, these guys have a tech platform that is now, we can see they've got smaller co-located stores that use the real estate assets of our gigantic partner. This is them repurposing real estate they have in their portfolios. That's kind of the no-brainer part of it. And then another announcement we made, I think probably a month or two ago, which again, we were a little surprised the market didn't pick up on this. We are now selling Fire and Flower gift cards in 300 Circle K locations across Canada. So we have the largest footprint in Canada with about 79 stores. And then you take another 300 non-cannabis locations where you've got gift cards being sold. 300, that's a massive footprint. And again, we understand the market's a little scared of all kinds of things at the moment, but we were a little surprised, but that didn't really get a lot of pickup.
Yeah. Okay, so let me ask you this. How much did 13% of Fire and Flower cost Couche-Tard?
They would say too much. We would say not enough, as always with strategic investors. So the way it works is they have warrant structures. So I think it's about 45, almost $50 million to get to that that level, but it's over a couple of pieces. So they put in a chunk for debentures and warrants, and again, the next group, the series sort of B warrants that come in December, those are due. Those are exercisable up until December, and those are at $1.83, and that gets them to, I think, fully diluted about a 33% equity stake in the company. So, there is a path here. And then after that, there's another tranche of warrants that are exercisable. I think the floor of those is $2, and there's a ceiling of, because we did sort of amend them, but there's a ceiling on those. But again, that's to get to 50.1% of the company.
Wow. And now Couche-Tard also has operations in the United States, no?
They do. They have 7,500 stores in the U.S., and I believe it's upwards of 6,000 of those sell CBD products, which are federally legal in the U.S. So again, their interest in cannabis in general, if you think about what you sell at a Circle K, this is what consumers want to buy. So they want to buy things like, alcohol where available at, convenience locations, things like tobacco. These are adult use products they're very familiar with, and they understand the growth category there. So again, they've been a very good partner, because you think about how we're collaborating on, the co-located stores, how we're collaborating with gift cards in their stores. You can start to see how this evolves in a U.S. context. And in fact, for us, we just announced on Monday the beginning of our kind of more fulsome U.S. market entry strategy. So we announced on Monday that we are partnered with a group called American Acres, who will be taking royalty-free the tech, our IP, all of our stuff that we've developed here in the Canadian market, which, again, I know some people are sort of say, well, yeah, but it's the Canadian market. It's true, it's smaller than the US market, but it is much more competitive. If you think about Alberta has one dispensary per 8,000 people, which is more than Colorado, which everyone would agree is probably one of the most competitive markets in the world. So we've really honed our craft in a very competitive retail market, and now we're able to project value south of the border into American Acres, who are going to use this very distinct and unique advantage to kind of go and aggregate and roll up U.S. stores. We'll convert them to Fire and Flower. We'll make them better and rinse and repeat. And in exchange, they've agreed to let us acquire them when legal. So we got that time gap there. We've got the air gap between the plant touching TSX companies and the U.S., but at the deep discount that reflects the value they see in the tech. And I can see the question probably coming, which is, well, what is this discount? We want to put it in our mouth. Obviously, that we consider that proprietary. But I would say, if you look at it, if you were like a smaller U.S. MSO that was trying to grow aggressively, and you were given essentially essentially given a bazooka, right, to go out and compete with these great tools, this high fire technology, Spark Perks loyalty program, all this sort of stuff, what would that be worth to you, right? Knowing that there are bigger MSOs out there, there's a lot of consolidation going on. If you were given a head start and a path to acquisition by Fire and Flower to blend into us, whether in the TSX or with our upcoming intent to list on NASDAQ, that's a significant event for them. And so I would suggest the answer would be you'd probably give quite a lot for that advantage.
Yeah, well, that's really intriguing. I've got to be honest. I'm looking at you in a whole new light, because that is I think that's a better model than Canopy. Honestly, I think it's so smart, and I just can't believe it. So you have the right to acquire them, 100%.
100%. Yes, when legal. And
you know what?
I got to tell you, we did take a page out of Canopy, because I agree. I think the Canopy and the acreage deal was not a great deal for shareholders of Canopy, because what you were doing was, in those days, LPs were trying to project capital south of the border. They were trying to deploy capital there. So that structure actually was very, very different. And we learned from that. That was sort of, you used capital to almost sort of get shareholders to agree to your deal. And it was dealing with a very big company. So we thought, well, you know what? Let's think about this for a second. The structure is okay. It's just the particular deal wouldn't have been one that I would do, right? So what if you grew together What if you built that value together? And what if you actually had something valuable to begin with? Because you'll remember when Canopy did that, in those days, I think cannabis, it's fair, was still a raw materials game, and there was a lot of capital, so you're trying to find a way to put it to work. But we've actually spent the last 2.5 years building something that has an acknowledged value. Like it's a operating model tied together with technology that is hyper competitive, allows you to compete. Well, that has value. In the US, you can get capital. That's not the problem anymore in the US. The problem in the US is that no one has built an operating platform that's tech forward and competitive because they haven't had to. The operating model was, I've got a store. That's my model. I've got a cannabis store. People like cannabis. They'll come into my store. And if I can do that enough, maybe I'll open a second store. But that's not going to work when it's competitive. And so that's where we started.
Wow. It sounds brilliant. What is the footprint of American Acres currently in the United States?
Well, the footprint of American Acres so far is small, right? So the first store rollout will be in Palm Springs, and we expect that in first half of this year. So that will be, again, you will see a Fire and Flower branded store with all of our high fire tech in there, our Spark Perks customer engagement program, all of our, our kind of like our signature 6 screens. We're going to really demonstrate that this is a powerful operating system that is a competitive advantage. And then we want to help American Acres grow like a weed because it's both of our interests.
Unintended.
Yes.
Great. So now on the Canadian side of things, do you service the medical market as well as the recreational market?
No, we are strictly adult use, and and I'm sure that there's some crossover, to be honest, with people coming out of the medical market or people that are using it for health and wellness purposes. But our goal, our MO, is adult use in Canada.
I see. Is there an intent to enter the medical side at all?
No, I think that really you have to decide what you can be best in the world at. And I think that the licensed producers really have a good handle on the medical market. I think that they're licensed for that reason. And so I think that it makes sense for it to stay there and siloed. I think with us, as we start to see the perhaps distinction blur a little bit between what was traditionally medical for things like Dravet syndrome, like some very, very serious medical conditions, and things like insomnia, or things that people might also have a glass of red wine to kind of self-medicate. As that line becomes a little more blurry, I'm sure we'll see some health and wellness uptick in the stores, like similar to Whole Foods. But we really want to make sure that the medical market is with the medical professionals.
You bet. You bet. All right. Well, Trevor, that's really fascinating. I'm going to leave it there for now, and I'm going to go and study your financials a little more closely. I think I'm about to become an investor, and because I had no idea you had this whole thing going. It's really impressive. Congratulations on everything. We'll look forward to having you back soon. Thanks very much for your time today.
Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Bye for now. I think I'm going to buy that stock.
Which one?
Fire and Flower, the one we just watched.
Yeah. Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you? They obviously made a great impression on you.
Sure did, Ed. It sure did. Have you made any money off of weed stocks in the last year?
No.
No? Did you buy any weed stocks?
No. I only stuck with one stock in the last year.
Really? What stock is that?
Crown Mining.
Oh, the copper company. Well, that's interesting.
But I'm ready now. I'm looking for weed stocks to
Full
buy.
disclosure, we both own Crown Mining, and I have options in Crown Mining. And so, full disclosure,
So do I.
Consider us biased. If Crown Mining goes up, we stand to make money. So don't buy it because you're hearing it from us, because we don't know what the hell we're talking about. And clearly, we're not to be trusted, right, Ed? We're talking our own book on our own show.
Well,
You think
I
it's
think
going
it
up?
depends who you talk to.
I see. All right, so...
Okay, so what's your point?
Queso, that's Spanish for cheese. Did you know that?
Queso? Quesadilla?
Quesadilla. Quesadilla.
Quesadilla. It's a cheese biscuit or something.
It's a cheese tortilla.
Okay, it's got cheese.
Queso
I told you.
dia.
Quesa.
Quesa?
Dia.
Dia.
Quesa.
Quesadilla. Anyways, the great weed stocks that have come out in the last year that are still under the radar include Clever Leaves, CLVR on NASDAQ, And my second favorite one right now is Jay-Z's deal. Do you know Jay-Z's weed deal went public? Merged with Subversive Capital in the largest SPAC geared for cannabis ever. $570 million bucks, put together by Steve Auerbach, former broker, former director of Tilray. Actually, I think he's still a director, not former director. But anyways, so they merged, and now Jay-Z's, have you smoked Monogram when you were in California at all?
No.
So Monogram is Jay-Z's premier brand. Like, the guy's a money machine, Jay-Z.
Who's he married to?
No, you're thinking of Kanye West.
No. I'm
But he's
thinking
not-
of Beyonce.
Beyonce. Jay-Z married to Beyonce? I don't know who he's
Is
married
Jay-Z
to.
married to Beyonce? Yeah. See?
Oh, okay.
Hey, see?
Wow.
We got a crowd out here.
Wow.
We
Got a
got
live
some-
studio
hey,
audience that seems to know
with
something.
With it, guys. With it. Yeah, that's what we're talking about.
Yeah. Well, anyways, so
You didn't know JC? You're talking about the guy like he's your buddy. And you
No,
didn't
I'm
even know he's married to Beyonce.
I'm talking about the stock. I'm not talking about Jay-Z.
What's the symbol?
Zipper?
What's the zipper?
The zipper symbol. The symbol is GRAM.U. So
Like
it trades,
gram.
Yeah, it trades on the NEO exchange in Canada under the symbol gram.U. .U signifying that it's trading in US dollars. So it trades in the United States under the symbol GRAMF, which is the OTC QB.
I got it.
All right. Jesus. Anyways, so this
This is Jay-Z's company. $10.
well, So him and Rock Nation, he's part of Rock Nation too. They all went in on this cannabis deal, and now they bought Kaliva, which was a 10%. They're doing 10%. They're 10% of the retail trade in California or something like that. They got some good stat. Anyways, we had an interview with Michael Auerbach, not Steve Auerbach. I said Steve earlier. That was wrong. Anyways, that's on our site. We're not going to throw it in this reel because it's we've already rolled it out. So if you haven't seen that, you can find that on our YouTube channel too, or on our website at midasletter.com. This is usually where I say, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe button, and make sure that you send me email and tell me what you're making money and what you're losing money in and what you want to see us talk about on our next show. Anyways, my next guest is none other than Dr. Copper himself. Mr. Steve Dunn joins us all the way from Florida. Hey there, Wealth Press viewers, subscribers, traders, and investors. I've got a special guest today. Mr. Steve Dunn, CEO of Crown Mining Corp, is joining me today. Crown Mining trades on the TSX Venture in Canada under the symbol CWM and trades in the United States under the symbol CWMZF. Steve, welcome.
Hello, James.
Steve, I feel I have to start this interview off with full disclosure that I have options and I own shares in this company. If the stock goes up, I stand to benefit. By way of full disclosure, I am not to be trusted whatsoever. Now, let's talk about Crown Mining, Steve, and the state of copper. I'm looking at the copper chart here, and copper has, after a long period where it was range bound below $3 from like 2016 to 2020, it has suddenly got a real beat to its rhythm and has basically jumped 30% in the last 4 or 5 weeks. What is driving the price of copper right now, if we could start there?
So we've known for some time that at one point, demand is going to exceed and continue to exceed supply. And I think that's finally happened over the past year. Inventories were kind of covering up for the gap between demand and supply. And the pandemic caused this huge supply shock. Inventories were eaten up very, very quickly. And we now have a situation where there's huge stimulus going on into the economies. People are looking for more copper to build out the infrastructure and to make this move in energy to renewables. And the copper's not there. So prices are going up. And
You bet.
the interesting thing about supply side, you can't build a copper mine in a year. You can't build it in 2 years. It takes 5 to 10 years to build these new mines. So we could have a situation where there's huge pressure on copper prices for years.
All right, Steve. So the thing that attracts me as an investor to Crown Mining Corp is this company has been sitting on over 2 billion pounds of copper, 43101 certified, for a number of years. So Let's talk a bit about the Moonlight Superior deposits. I have to say deposits because it's important to note that this is not a single deposit, but a series of deposits that you have consolidated over time.
Well, we have 4 known deposits right now. One of them, the big one, Moonlight, has 1.5 billion indicated and 500 million inferred. The interesting thing about that deposit is it's open at depth and on strike. So what that means is we think there's a lot more there. Superior has 500 million pounds of copper, but it's all inferred. Our drill program there, both this spring and hopefully in the fall, will help us move that resource into the indicated category and hopefully make it bigger. But the more important thing is to be able to bring gold and silver into that resource, because the gold and silver kicker, as we call it, we think can improve the value of the deposit by a good 20% at today's prices. So that's the objective. Angles is the old mine. They actually took most of the copper in the 20s out of Angles. Goes down 1,700 feet a shaft with 17 different levels. But we've done very little work at Angles over the past 10 years. Placer drilled some holes there. Our predecessor drilled a few holes in the 2000s. There's a lot of copper still there. Like, they were mining 2% copper in the old days, and they were leaving behind everything in between the veins. Those veins are running 0.5%. So there's a lot of copper there, and we know it goes quite deep. So Angles is kind of the exploration target that could add a lot more to our project. Hopefully by the end of April, we'll have a drill program going at Superior and Angles. The plan is to show that there's a lot of copper and gold there as well. The interesting thing is, back in the 60s, Placer didn't really assay for gold and copper, or gold and silver. Reason being, gold and silver prices weren't high enough to make their contribution matter. Today, of course, silver and gold can make a substantial contribution to our project.
I understand that you are planning to change the name of the company at some point.
We've decided to change the name to US Copper Corp. That will happen on March 29th at our shareholder meeting.
What other deposits in the US are in the same boat as yours, that they have a large deposit whose economics have been studied, pretty much consistently over a decade, and that they know it's a viable deposit?
We are the only one that I'm aware of in California. But there are a number, there's probably a good 6 or 7 deposits like us in the United States in that trend.
Mm-hmm. And are they as well understood as this deposit is at this point?
Every deposit has unique characteristics. Every deposit has pros and cons. The important thing is it big enough? Is it economic? Can you get the ore out? These are all the issues that you need to address when you're looking at a deposit. We think we check off most of the boxes.
So at this point, have you had any conversations with any of the major copper miners in the world?
Not yet.
Not yet, eh? Okay, and so what is the program? What's going to happen in 2021 besides drilling to advance this whole concept?
The plan, the strategy, is to be able to improve the economics of the entire project. We want to be able to show that you can make a lot of money on this project for a long time.
I mean, so the drilling program is designed to show copper, silver, and gold as well. What would be the developmental progress? Like, is this a mine where you're going to have to raise $1 billion before you can put it into production? Or is it something that you can start off with a smaller production scenario and sort of get bootstrapped more cheaply?
One of the problems with doing a small bootstrap type operation is you can mess things up for somebody that might want to come along and build a huge mine there, like a huge open pit. So, and funds were hard to attract anyways. So we decided, let's just move this project ahead and show how big it can be. And we need higher copper prices to be able to do anything. Let's wait for that.
I'm wondering, how long does copper have to stay above $3.50 in the $3.54 range till people start to say, okay, this looks more like a permanent change rather than a temporary one. Let's pull the trigger.
Everybody in the industry has been saying until copper can show it's over $3.50, we probably will not see any new big mines built. So we've been over $3.50 now for what, approximately 5-6 months. Has anything started yet? No. But I've got to believe if prices stay above $4 for much longer, we're going to see a number of things happen. I think we're going to start to see some mergers and acquisitions in the producer sector. And then you're going to start to see some of these big mining companies decide that they need to get more copper deposits into their inventory. And so as a result, I think you'll start to see some of them starting to acquire companies like us.
I imagine that one of the major changes that this higher copper price has affected is that you now have better access to capital to fund exploration. And you've recently announced a total of $2 million in financings towards drilling. And is that sort of the new reality that you're dealing with? Is that suddenly people are interested in investing in copper exploration?
It certainly appears that way. I've been getting a lot of calls lately from brokers asking about investing more money. Right now, we have enough funds to proceed with the drill program and to do the rebranding that we've undertaken.
What are the fundamental outlook for the price of copper going the rest of 2021 into 2022? Is this a momentary flash in the pan, or is this a longer trend secular pattern?
So demand is growing like at least 3-4% a year. And I think it's actually growing more than that because of all these new stimulus bills that are showing up and the push for electrical vehicles. And as I mentioned, supply is not increasing. So how is supply ever going to increase? It's going to increase because prices get to the point where people cannot resist building a new mine. Now, what type of price are we going to look at there? Goldman Sachs is calling for a price over $5, $5 a pound. How far can it go? I think it can go further than that.
The electrification of the world away from hydrocarbonization is one of the main drivers of demand. And so how has that changed the future demand profile for copper from industry?
As countries like India and China continue to build out their grids, the need for copper just keeps going up and up and up. Now, the need for copper in all these electrical vehicles is big. But think about all the charging stations you need and the wiring that goes into those. That's where the huge demand is really coming from.
All right, Steve, that's a great update. We're going to leave it there for now, and we're going to come back to you soon. I can't wait to see the results from your drill programs. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
We should get back to, I have a serious question here for the people that are, a lot of money was lost in the weed space.
Oh, a lot of money.
The good news is about money. You come in the role with nothing, you leave with nothing. So,
well, I don't think
eventually it all balances out.
The only thing you take with you when you die is all the love you generated when you were alive.
Really?
That's the only thing that follows you into the afterlife. That and your 2.5 grams of energy and, oops, did I just swear in that? Unbelievable.
Yeah, edit that one.
Yeah. Boy, what happened there? No cursing during rolling.
But some of the marijuana stocks, but Tilray, it shot way back up again.
I know.
Only to fall.
I know. Here's the funny thing. So Joe Biden and Kamala Harris get elected, at least in part, on their promise that they're going to legalize cannabis, decriminalize it, open it up for intertrade commerce. They're going to do everything in their power to get people out of jail who've been busted for cannabis. They've made all these promises, and so they get elected. And then, to add a little sugar on there, they win the Senate. The Democrats win the Senate. So now they control all three branches of government in the United States. So now the cannabis stocks
Executive branch?
The executive branch, Senate, Congress, the House, No, now I'm confusing. The Senate and Congress are the same one. The House and House
No,
of
the
Representatives.
executive branch would be the president,
Oh, really?
I think.
I had no idea. That's
And if a Democrat's in, that means they control it?
well, if the Democrats in the White House. These are trick questions now, aren't they? Yeah. No, anyways,
I love
but
politics.
here, listen to me.
I want to get into politics.
You want to get into politics?
Yeah.
You're in them.
Okay.
You're in it. I'm going to vote for you.
Okay.
So anyways, everybody sees the U.S. cannabis stocks take off on this news. And because the U.S. cannabis stocks take off, the Canadian cannabis stocks take off because, investors don't really look below the headline to see what the essence of a price change is, and they just pile in. The Canadian industry last reported 1 billion grams of unsold cannabis in the retail system. 1 billion grams! And every month, new supply is coming into that system. So if you're rushing into Canadian cannabis stocks, you're crazy! Crazy! Because what's happening in the United States is not what's going to happen in Canada. No. And so it's interesting to me that investors have failed to heed our parting words of wisdom before our last show when we said this is about to become a U.S. game. The only game in town is U.S. MSOs. Forget about Canada. Remember? That was our parting shot?
Yep.
Anyway, so clearly we've been gone too long because people aren't listening to us anymore and they're all rushing back into Canadian cannabis stocks and they're just going to get their little fingertips burned.
People forget.
People forget.
That's why they keep coming back.
That's why they should stop smoking so much weed.
What?
Well, actually, your memory seems quite intact for such
such an old
elderly statesman of cannabis.
Yeah.
Do you find that smoking weed is better than drinking?
Yeah.
Really?
For me, yeah.
You prefer to be high rather than drunk?
I don't like how I feel after drinking.
After drinking? I'm talking during drinking.
Oh, I like it.
Yeah,
it's fun, but after.
But what about after being high? After you smoke too much weed, how do you feel then?
Smoke more weed.
That doesn't strike me as a very good solution.
But you can smoke more weed. You can't keep drinking.
Oh, that's the problem. If you're Irish or Latvian or even worse, a combination of both.
What if you're Russian?
You can never stop drinking. If you're Russian, those are the only guys who can keep up. Russians, Scots, and Irish are the worst or the best, depending on your perspective, drinkers on the planet.
Yeah.
Polski-Ugorki, though, is not far behind.
I know that part of the world, like Germany, Anheuser-Busch comes from that part of the world.
Well, I figured, why else would you brew something so weak as beer?
Yeah.
I mean, unless you couldn't handle your scotch.
Handle your scotch.
Yeah. Have you had any good scotch lately? Drank any good wine lately?
Yeah.
Smoked any good weed lately?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, so
okay.
What cannabis stocks, are you following any of them at all? No?
Now, what about
We'll be right back
some of the old favorites? What about Supreme?
So Supreme, we interviewed the new CEO of Supreme.
Yeah.
They've got I think it's their fourth CEO. No, their third CEO in 3 years. So John Fowler, the founding CEO, left.
Yeah.
Then Nav took over, Nav Dhaliwal. Then and now it's this other woman, and the stock's trading at 30 cents. Anyways, Supreme, to me, the last thing I remember is they raised, I think it was $60 million at $1.20 in a debenture. That was converting. So the stock, anyways, this capital structure is a mess. So the bottom line is, I think that we're about to see stocks run in the U.S. in the cannabis space if there is some kind of legislative follow-through by the Biden administration. And that if it turns out that they were not sincere in their representations as to how they were going to change the rules regarding possession, cultivation, and consumption of cannabis, then I think we could be on the brink of a precipitous drop.
Yeah.
Have you ever had absinthe?
Yeah.
Yeah, and?
I've been absent.
Have you? Did you see the Green Fairy?
No.
You look disappointed, and so you should be.
So absinthe.
Absinthe.
Yeah.
Absinthe makes the heart grow fonder.
Absinthe makes the heart too.
No. Okay. So I think that the bottom line on the cannabis industry for now is that we are focusing on U.S. MSOs. I have a small position in TPCO, the parent company, which is actually the name of the company of Jay-Z's cannabis deal. It's called the parent company, but it trades under the symbol GRAM.U. Like, error. Like, who picked that symbol? Anyways, either name this company, get the symbol to jibe with the name of the company, or get the name of the company to jibe with the symbol. But when they're so diverse, and it's trading under .U, the problem with this company is nobody can find it to trade it, because it's trading on NEO, and it's trading in US dollars in Canada, which means it's got the .U, which means most people are like, .U, what is that? There's even some trading platforms that you put in .U and it says error. Like, what are you talking about? What's wrong with you? We don't
Right.
But so I own the parent company, and which other one did I?
Is Jay-Z been involved in that company for a long time?
No, they just merged in the end of December. So Michael Auerbach, I don't know why I want to keep calling him Steve Auerbach. Do I know a Steve Auerbach? Do you know a Steve Auerbach? No, we don't know a Steve Auerbach. Anyways, Michael Auerbach put a SPAC together, raised $570 million, and broadcast that he wanted to use it to acquire a cannabis company. Somehow, I don't know how, but he met Jay-Z. Apparently they hit it off, and boom. Now, the parent company has become Jay-Z's weed deal. As it shall always be known now. You can name that company whatever you want. It's always going to be known as Jay-Z's weed deal.
Yeah.
What's the symbol of Jay-Z's weed deal? Oh, GRAM.U.
.U.
But here's the thing. With the market cap now at, well, actually, it's got a really tight share structure. So I think the market cap is at 1.4 billion. So it's a shoe-in for a NASDAQ listing, and that's what they're doing. And that is the catalyst we're waiting for the stock to take off. As soon as it gets a NASDAQ listing, the fireworks are going to begin. But I figure Jay-Z is going to hang back from promoting it too hard, because all the artists, all the A-list is sort of reticent towards participating in cannabis overtly with their names, because there's still that uncertainty of, well, I could still get busted for cannabis because the laws aren't still federally clear.
Right.
So a lot of them have avoided, like we had in our documentary that we're developing, we had a lot of resistance from a lot of the stars we approached. They said, yeah, I don't want to be seen to be advocating in favor of cannabis in a public way like that at this time in the evolution of the industry.
Right. And so you didn't.
So I did not.
Yeah.
Anyways, our next guest is the CEO of Slang Worldwide, who we've had on the show a couple of times. And Slang has made some big moves, so we'll let the CEO do the talking. Hey there, Wealth Press and Midas Letter subscribers, viewers, traders, and investors. Today I have a special guest. Chris Dreesen is the CEO of Slang Worldwide, Inc., trading on the OTC under the symbol SLGWF and trading in Canada under symbol SLNG. Chris, welcome.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
You bet. Chris, I've been following Slang Worldwide for a long time. It's my good friend Bruce Linton's. He always talks about it as one of his favorite companies. And I'm like, I got to get these guys back on the air and see what I'm missing here. So just to refresh the memory of our previous viewers and to introduce the company to our new viewers, can you give us a thumbnail on the company's business model and business?
You bet. The best way to describe Slang is we're obviously a cannabis-focused CPG and branding company. I would tell people that we're a non-traditional MSO. We've got 16 different markets. Most recently, have announced that we're going to be moving into Missouri and Virginia. So we are very much multi-state. But more than that, we're multi-brand, multi-channel, multi-product, multi-segmented. So we do things really two different ways. In our emerging markets, we develop a strategic partnership with folks like Trulieve or Gage, Natura out in California, where we work with them to bring our products to market. In our core markets, which are Colorado and Oregon, we do all those things ourselves. So we're vertically integrated up through wholesale. And then we have a thriving CBD, e-commerce, and non-THC channel where we sell hardware and now CBD.
Wow, fantastic. So you guys have been quietly going about your knitting, as the expression is, while a lot of companies have struggled. What is the key ingredient of your approach that has enabled you to survive and thrive in this otherwise difficult time?
It's brands. Our legacy company, Organa Brands, prior to that, Organa Labs, has been doing this for 11 years. So CPG brands dominating things like market share, market penetration, things of that nature are not new to us. Interestingly enough, that's become very in vogue in the cannabis industry recently. So that's something that we've preached all along. And our secret to success is our house of brands. We've got 6 brands that cover every major category in the cannabis industry. Not only that, we're segmented within those brands. So premium, value, things of that nature. So we're wide, we're deep, and we come to win the CPG game in the cannabis industry today. And that's been the secret to our success really now for over a decade.
Sure. Okay. So last time I spoke to you guys, it was I can't remember the gentleman's name, but you guys had also grow operations in Ontario, and I'm wondering if you guys have now stepped away from the production side to focus on this house of brands model.
No, not at all. In fact, in our core markets, we always produce, but what you're referring to is our LP. It's a JV with Canopy Growth and Greenhouse North America called AgriFarm. It's right up there, as you mentioned, in Ontario and Creemore. So that business absolutely is producing products for the Canadian market. In fact, we've got both Open and Firefly products, our vape offering, in Saskatchewan, British Columbia, Ontario. In fact, the latest, greatest numbers that I got out of Ontario were that we're now the number 5 disposable being sold in the province. And I want to say Open somewhere near the middle of the pack. What's really impressive when you think about that is we didn't even start sales until about 60, 75 days ago. So we literally are very, very new entry. And it's great because Canadians clearly are voting with their dollars, and they love the products that we put out, which is no surprise to us, but always makes you feel good when you go to a new market, a new country, and have the success that we're experiencing. And we're looking to build on that with more products to come.
Sure. Okay, let's talk a bit about your strategic partnerships with TruLeave and Gage. How do those work for a Canadian LP?
Yeah, much the same. So AgriFarm, they're all formulated and basically structured the same way. And so the way those things work is that we always look for the right fit, the infrastructure, the capital, the leadership of what's going to predispose us to having success in a given market. We found that with the folks you've mentioned. And then what we do is we come in and we assist them with everything back of the house, setting up their labs, equipment optimization. How do we increase yields? How are we doing everything so that these businesses have the best shot at making these products in the most affordable way possible that allows them to have the most success possible? We then take that a step further, which is where we different than a lot of the other folks that license brands, in that we assist them with moving those products through the market. So case in point, there in Ontario and really for the rest of Canada, we do inside sales for AgriFarm. So we're calling on dispensaries that are in those provinces, encouraging them to order from the provincial distributors. So not only do we help them make the products, give them the SOP, the proven processes of how do you make these best-in-class products, but then we're also assisting them with making the increasing velocities through the market. So our strategic partnerships are always pinned on proven processes to start, and then being able to get out our brands into those markets and making sure that those products are selling through in the most effective way possible.
Sure. All right. Switching to financial data now. You reported Q3 2020 revenue of $7.9 million, a 73% increase over the same quarter in the previous year. Is that pace of revenue growth going to continue, A? And B, when do you get to real non-adjusted profitability?
You bet. Great question. So the big difference you're going to see, and really with Q3, of course, Q2, a lot of people will remember Colorado, which is one of the places we're most heavily distributed and where I'm sitting at now, was one of the first places to be a hotspot for COVID. International ski tourism. We get a lot of tourists that come here to visit the resorts just to the west of me. And so we were really one of the first places. So you had a uncharacteristic dip in Q2, much like the rest of the world. We rocket out of that in Q3, as you mentioned. The big shift that people are going to see, and this only was a taste in Q3, was that we've now completed acquisitions that make us a plant-touching company in both Oregon and Colorado. So you should expect more revenue growth. We're very excited about our Q4 call that'll be coming up here in April. I'm not going to promise that we're always going to grow 70+% quarter over quarter, but you are going to see a material shift in both our revenue and profit due to us becoming plant touching. Profitability, we do expect to come this year in 2021 on a consistent basis. We do expect to spin off positive cash flow by the end of the year. And that's because we've done a great job of curtailing our expenses and expanding with some of these best-in-class operators. So you're seeing more revenue come in, expenses go down. Obviously, that lends itself to profitability. So our shareholders in the world should expect those things from us in 2021.
Sure. So I ask every cannabis CEO this question whose operation or has exposure in the U.S. How important is the election of the Biden administration to the future of cannabis and the associated revenue in the United States?
Here's hoping. I would call it cautious optimism. Democrat, again, we've been doing this since 2010. So we've had Democrats, we've had Republicans, everybody and their moms had an opportunity to really put their stamp on the cannabis industry and really hasn't to date. So, obviously with every new administration, there's new hope, there's new optimism, and certainly you're hearing it talked about a lot more. So whether that's safe banking, whether that's the MORE Act, whether that's descheduling, is it up to interstate commerce? Is it full-blown legalization? All of those things would be welcome news, particularly for publicly traded cannabis companies like ourselves. But Slang has a unique opportunity in that we compete and win now in some of the most competitive markets in the country. And again, we're in 16 different markets, 14 states, Canada, Puerto Rico. So any of those handicaps that are currently placed not only on our business, but all cannabis businesses, Section 280E with taxes, for example, the lifting of any of those handicaps is just gas on this fire. And look, it's a matter of time. I don't think anybody disagrees with that. It's just how long is that going to be? So here's hoping. And look, if they go through with some of the things that are being talked about, it'll be an absolute catalyst and a tailwind, not just for Slang, but for all cannabis businesses, particularly those that are multi-state and particularly those that are public.
You bet. All right, Chris, that's great. We're going to leave it there for now. I appreciate your time today. We'll come back to you soon. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me.
That's our show for today. Thank you very much for watching. We're going to be back soon. Don't forget to subscribe and like us if you want to see us some more. And please do send email to jwest@midasletter.com if you'd like to ask myself or Ed anything about anything. And we're talking anything.
Anything.
Thanks for watching.
Anything.